Hey there, comic book friends. I'm Travis. Time for an edition of Monster Comics Review, as the title said. Anyway, this is books for the week of August 20th, 2014. I'll quickly roll through some superhero books here. We'll see what happens. Batman Eternal, issue number 20. It's kind of an issue. Wasn't bad. Nothing super exciting. There are a couple cool moments in it. I enjoy the fact that in some of the prior issues they talked about this original gangster, the OG of Gotham, the Lion. We find out that the Lion isn't dead. The Lion's still around. And the Lion, it shows up in this issue. He's cool. And he does a number on some people, which is pretty awesome. We kind of quickly tie up the Killer Croc part of the story. Yeah, that was okay. Whatever. We tie up some of the Barbara Gordon stuff. We figure out who it is that that had messed with Jim Gordon to make him see what he saw that caused the train wreck. Unfortunately, that person is now deceased. So where they go from there, we're not sure. Is this enough information to clear Gordon? In this issue, Gordon kind of becomes Batman and, you know, goes all tough guy and beats up on a bunch of people in this. The part I really didn't like about it is the very end. Spoiler shows up, and the way that just happened, she's in costume and whatnot. It feels like we missed some story development of her going from hiding out in the library and running from being, you know, potentially killed by her father, their clue master, and a bunch of other people, to now suddenly she's her own superhero with this big wild bow staff thing. And I don't know, it doesn't make a lot of sense to me. I feel like I missed a few issues and this feels rushed. Kind of been told that there was kind of a rush on this because they got this next big reveal coming this coming week. Could be exciting stuff. Great cover. Art on the inside is, I didn't really care for it much. But still fun to be caught up in the excitement of the weekly book. I still worry about saying that because, of course, I don't want the comic book companies to think that everything should go to a weekly book because, well, my pocketbook couldn't afford it because it would be harder to enjoy the variety and breadth of stuff that I read if a bunch of books went to weekly, because then I could get as many different books. Makes sense, right? Math? Yeah. Next up, issue 34 of Batman and Robin. Love this issue. Some great Bat family dynamics in here. Had some emotional weight and some emotional content. Dealt with some death of the family stuff, which happened quite a while ago. And I think there was kind of a healing process, and there was time for this to match up in there. I thought that was really cool. Had a pretty lengthy conversation on the Comic Book Roundtable about this. One of the unfortunate things that came up is after we were done with the Comic Book Roundtable, we were just hanging out after hours, chatting, and of course Damien, who should go and check out Sleep Reader 666 review of this book, he talks about it further in there. Then we suddenly, oh my gosh, realization that Batman in this whole thing saying, look, no more lies, we're telling truths, and then we find out that, you know, Dick Grayson was there and nobody knew he was there, and they all think he's dead except for Batman. That's a lie by omission, right? And what does that really mean? I don't know. I'm still trying to reconcile that part of the book. I don't know if it was just a huge editorial screw up that somehow they missed that. I'm just not 100% sure, but I'm still really enjoyed the book. The art is awesome. I even like the conversation between Lex Luthor and him. As Lex helps him out, tweaks this super suit that he's going to be using to go into the Acropolis and whatnot. I'm really curious as to what that's all going to be like. I mean, part of me thinks Lex Luthor can relate with Batman in some sense, but I also think there's a part of Lex Luthor that thinks, you know what, if I help Batman go to Acropolis and he gets himself killed, awesome. That's going to make my life so much easier for me to control what's going on if I'm not being challenged by Batman. So I think there's a nefarious end to that. But still really super excited to see where that's going next with this thing. Just a great book. My favorite Bat book. One of my favorite books, period. Still really enjoying it. Curious to see how the whole Acropolis thing works out. Are we going to actually get a Robin at the end of this whole thing? And what's that Robin going to be like? All exciting stuff to me. Great stuff. not great stuff, not exciting stuff. Issue 34 of Batwoman. The fight with Nocturna and whatnot, it's blah, who cares? It doesn't mean a whole lot. It's fairly shallow as a general rule. Cover of this is awesome. Art on the inside is not so much so. Second part of the story, of course, is exactly what I was worried was going to happen. Kate rolls over. I know it's supposed to be a show of sacrificial love, but basically she leaves Maggie, so the ex-husband, who obviously is a bigot towards homosexuals, won't pursue pushing so hard on sole custody of Maggie's child, and she basically gives up and leaves. Leaves a letter saying, "Oh, look, once Maggie's kid is grown up and gone, we can rekindle this. I'll still be waiting here for you." Blah 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 blah. Feels out of character to me. I understand the sacrifice, but it just doesn't fit right. That shouldn't have been the answer. That shouldn't have been the answer for this book. Kudos to the writer for finding a way to back way the hell away from marriage as far as they possibly could, because I know that's what DDC editorial said that they had to do. So kudos to the writer for finding a way to do it that wasn't as shallow as I found somebody hotter, or some villain messes up their lives and that's what causes them to separate, or whatever. Kudos in that sense, that find a more interesting way to split them up, and this is a more interesting way. Doesn't feel like it's in character for Kate Kane. Kate Kane is a fighter. She's a soldier. I just don't see this as being the way that she would go about answering this. But, heck, what do I know, right? I'm not the person writing the book, obviously, and I don't have to answer the editorial, but that's not how I would have done it. But then I wouldn't have separated them either. Be curious seeing going forward. I think there'd be some interesting stories, and you could pull out some interesting emotion and stuff like that. Obviously, Maggie Sawyer is still a big-time police detective in Gotham. How often is Kate going to run into her on a professional level? What's that going to be like? Is there going to be zero relationship now? Is this gone when we're hardly going to see Maggie Sawyer at all as a character? Which I think is unfortunate, because she's an interesting character too. What's it going to be like? Really, at this point, I love Batwoman. The only reason I'm hanging on to this comic is I'm curious what a storyline that's going forward, where she teams up with like Clayface and Ragman and stuff like that. I'm curious to see where that goes and what that's like. And then after that, get a new artist. That might help the whole story and storytelling aspect of it. But boy, I want to support Batwoman, but not sure I can much longer. Magneto, issue number 8, still a great book. This street level Magneto is just really interesting. This one, the S.H.I.E.L.D. agents actually managed to catch up to him while he is kind of dismantling this the equivalent of a meth lab, except for instead of meth, they're harvesting DNA out of mutants and making a mutant serum that people can inject themselves with and have mutant powers for a period of time or whatever. He devastates the place, but keeps one of the cookers around. He saves one of the cookers for a really interesting dynamic at the end of this issue as to why he would save one of these basically horrific people who's stripping the DNA out of a mutant and making non-mutants into mutants. There's some great dialogue in this, some great kind of people toying with the idea that they know Magneto isn't as powerful as what he once was, but how powerful is he? Kind of tug of war in the issue that I thought was really great too. A great read. Really glad that I listened to a few people who told me that this was a great book and should pick it up. I've enjoyed every issue of it, and I continue to be excited about to see where it goes. Another book that I'm over the moon about, Ms. Marvel, second issue with Wolverine in it, is absolutely great. The writing from the dialogue from G. Willow Wilson is so excellent in this. The way Camilla acts, the way Wolverine acts, the way they interact with each other. Wolverine being this cranky, old, bitter, sarcastic veteran of a superhero, and Camilla being this basically fresh-faced, I mean, holds these really lofty ideals of what a superhero is and what a superhero can do or should do, and the kind of contrast between the two of them is excellent in this. It's really, really enjoyable to read, really refreshing feeling. The handling of the characters, because in this it's confirmed that she's an Inhuman, that's where her powers are based out of and whatnot. That's really interesting. It's great that Wolverine calls up Medusa and Captain America and basically vouches for Camilla and says, hey, this is a girl, you kind of need to leave her alone. She's dedicated to finding her own way through things, and she's great, and we should let her do that. And it's just a really good feeling book. Everything about it is excellent. It's just a joy to read. Everyone should be reading this. Everyone really should be reading it. It's just an excellent, excellent book. You're missing out on just a joy of a story to read. Next up is the Multiverse, issue number 1. DC Comics is Grant Morrison's big thing. It's been talked about even like a year or two before the New 52. So this has been kicking around for like 5 years. I think this is the first time I started hearing talk of Grant Morrison was going to be writing this thing in some sense. And then, of course, after the New 52 hit, then we're going to explore the 52 universes that make up the DC universe. Interesting. There's lots of meta stuff going on here that I haven't quite turned over exactly what all that is. It's interesting. It's entertaining. I'm curious to see where it's going forward. I will be getting it. There are bits and pieces of it that are kind of a love letter to the original Crisis story, which is kind of cool. It feels scattered, but not scattered in a way that makes it unconfusing. It matches up to the story and what the story should be. There's a hilarious kind of mock faux Avengers that are in the book, which are kind of fun and funny. Poking some fun at some stuff in there, which is amusing. Interesting book, and I'm really curious to see where it goes. Yeah, I don't know what else I want to say about it, but I'm really curious to see where it goes. Don't know that I'd recommend it to anybody unless you're a fan of just all the minutia that might go on with the DC universe. But still cool. And finally, unfortunately, going to finish this off on kind of a downer. This is Sensation Comics number 1. It's Wonder Woman. It's her digital first comic, like the equivalent of Superman Adventures or Adventures of Superman, however it's called, and Batman Legends of the Dark Knight. Was really excited for this. This is going to be my replacement Wonder Woman comic, as the main Wonder Woman title is going to shift directions and go someplace that I don't care to read. Really excited about it. Wonder Woman out of continuity, different creators telling different stories, and how exciting that might be. And in this case, it's Gail Simone was writing it. I figured she would knock it out of the park. I enjoyed Gail Simone's run on Wonder Woman when she had the main title. This is just I don't know. I was disappointed in a lot of levels with this thing. She goes and she fights the Gotham villains. She has to get called in because Batman has some issues or whatever. And Oracle, remember that character, that awesome character, calls in Wonder Woman, but she informs Wonder Woman's got to kind of like fight them the way Batman would fight them. Makes no sense at all. Why? Why would you do that? So I just didn't enjoy it on a lot of levels. Why would you induct Batman crap into a Wonder Woman book? There's no call for it. I wanted it to be a Wonder Woman book. Have her fight Cheetah. Have her do some of that sort. Secondary story in this, art was okay. There's a couple sweet moments in it. I'm jealous of the kid who gets kissed by Wonder Woman at the end of it. But it felt like a PSA for, don't judge people, treat people right. Just because somebody likes a girl character doesn't mean they're a girl if they're a guy or whatever, that sort of thing. It just felt too PSA, and so that made it unfortunate. I'm going to keep getting those because I'm just sure that some of these other creators are going to do something special and whatnot. It's just unfortunate because the first issue of the Superman one started out seemingly really strong. The first Batman issues were really strong. I wanted this to be really strong, and it was anything but. Yeah, so that's the week's worth of books. What'd you think? Did you pick up any of those? Something else come out that week as far as superhero books that I'm really screwing up by not picking up? What are they? Let me know. Anyway, have a great one.